Okay. Okay, ecco. Now I gave it again.
Okay, so we're ready to begin the seminar now. Amodeo Spagnoletto is the director of the National Museum of Italian Judaism and the Shoah in Ferrara, Italy. He also practices the ancient practice of the sofer, the ritual scribe who transcribes and restores Torah scrolls. Amedeo was the chief rabbi of the Jewish community of Florence and a permanent consultant of the Green Collection that includes the world's biggest collection of Sifrei Torah. His publications include Houses of Life, Synagogues and Cemeteries in Italy, published this year, Under the Same Sky, published last year, Antique Roman Ketubot, the marriage contracts of the Jewish community of Rome, published in 2019, and Antique Roman Mapot, the precious textile archive of the Jewish Museum of Rome, published in 2017. So without further ado, I will introduce Amedeo Spagnoletto. Please.
Thank you, Lior, and thank you for everybody. I will try to speak in English, even if it's not my language and I don't speak so well in English. But I guess that there are people who don't speak in Hebrew, and so we decided to lead this conversation in English. Nevertheless, if you don't understand something or lacks me some sentences that I must to be much more precious, I will switch to Hebrew or to Italian, but I don't think that Italian will help us too much in order to make the idea, the issue much more clear. Anyway, our theme of today is Hebrew scribal tradition revival in Italy. What does it mean? It means that I wanted to share with you my experience of being a scribe here in Italy after a very large gap that I measured as 150 years. What does it mean? It means that by my researches, I found out that the last Torah scroll copied in Italy and to be much more precious in Roma, for sure in Roma, passed something like 150 years. It means that by this time and until that I wrote a new Sefer Torah, and it happened 20 much more 20 years ago, there were no other Torah scroll copied in Italy and especially in Roma, that is the most important and most numerous community here in Italy, among the 20 communities registered here in Italy. And now we will focus about the entities and also how much they are big, the communities in Italy here, right now and in the past. And therefore, now the image that you find above the title is the sheet of Megillat Esther. This is a replay of an ancient sheet of blessings related to Megillat Esther that was done in Roma in the 18th century, in the middle of 18th century, and donated to the Jewish community of Roma, that with the will of one donor in Roma, asked to me to redo, to replace, to remake something like the original one, and this is the result of doing the blessing. And it's interesting that it's not so common to have a different and separate sheet of blessing for the Megillat Esther. Here in Roma, but not only, also in other places in Italy, and it's not so common for other countries. The Megillot Esther were written with the blessing connected with them in a separate sheet made of parchment, of course, as you can see here, that was always enrolled together with the scroll of Megillat Esther. And so I have taken this the opportunity of showing you as a symbol of the revival in Italy of the tradition of scribal tradition. Let's go on, and now I give you a landscape about what the sources by the beginning of the rabbinical literature. Perhaps for many of you is something well known, but I decided to share with you these sources in order to give you a glimpse and a view of how we came across the revival of the Hebrew scribal tradition. But now I wanted to, doesn't go. Allora, what happened here? Interrompi condivisione. No. Wait, because that doesn't go. Sorry, because I couldn't share the slide, but it doesn't go ahead. Condividi schermo. Let's try again. Perhaps I have to do like this. I don't understand why it doesn't go. Lior, help me if you can.
Yes, try to click maybe F5. You have a F5 button.
Wait. F5, yes.
First share screen.
Share screen. Okay, wait.
Or
share screen. This is the condividi. F5.
Okay, good. Now can you scroll to the next slide?
No. F5.
No, you're already in. You can't move. You can't. Yeah, good.
Okay.
Fantastic.
That's fine. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I'm not so used to do these presentations. Let's go. This is the first source that I wanted to show you and to share with you that come from Talmud Bavli, and the importance of being a scribe that come out from this Eruvin 13a. כשבאתי אצל רבי ישמעאל אמר לי, בני מה מלאכתך? אמרתי לו, לבלר אני. אמר לי, בני עבד זעיר במלאכתך, שמלאכתך מלאכת שמיים היא. שמא אתה מחסר אותך או מייתר אותך, נמצאת מחרי בית כל העולם כולו. And downstairs, I think that you can see the at least part of a part of the translation. When I came to study with Rabbi Ishmael, he said to me, Beni, my son, what is your vocation? What's your job? And I told him that I am a lablar. What does it mean? Lablar is a word coming from Latin. Lablar is labellarius, libellarius. Libello is like a little book. And so it's considered a word to describe the people, the man who was copying the texts. Lablarani, I am a scribe. Amarli, my son, be very, very aware about your job, because your job is Melechat Shamayim, you know, is in a heaven operation, and you can lack one word on one letter, or you add much more letter, and nimset macharib et kol haolam, and you find that you can destroy all the world. And so this is the first source that can tell you exactly what is the meaning of be a scribe, the responsibility connected of being a scribe, and And this is important because in Italy, especially, we had a lot of rabbinical authorities who wrote about the responsibility of being a scribe, who could be a scribe, how should be the level of religious behavior of a man for being a scribe, that was not less of being a shochet, a slater, and was not less of being a rabbi, and therefore they required from every rabbi in each community to check out all the people who were doing this activity in order to be sure that tefillin, mezuzot, sifrei Torah were put on the market just under the supervision of the chief rabbi of the community, or at least after of the receiving of an ordinancy, the teudah, the certificate of their job. And till the 18th century, we had testimonies about the teudot given to the scribes in order to be. Oh, sorry, that my text. Wait a moment, that there is my son. Samuele, che c'è? No, sto facendo la lezione. Ciao. Okay, wait a moment, that my son is out of the door and he must to get in, and he don't have the keys. Sorry, for just a moment. I'm here. Lior, are you with me?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, sorry, but my son was out of the door without the keys and asked me to open the door. That's things that happens when somebody work from home. Never. Okay, never again. Okay, this is the first source. Now, this is a map of the communities during the 19th century. And you have also the people that joined and were part of the communities. As you can see, in the middle, at the end of the 19th centuries, the important communities were Roma, Firenze, Livorno, as you know, Ferrara, Modena, Mantova, Padua, Venezia, and the north, Milano and Torino. But you can see also how many small communities there were in the north, especially in the Pianura Padana. In the Pianura Padana, there were a lot of small communities that survived along 300 centuries, but at the end of the 19th centuries, they lost a very, very the majorities of their Jews, and remain just as ruins or as Beta Kevarot, it means the cemeteries and synagogues, without any more Jews leading the community and that could open the synagogues regularly. And what happened at the end of the 19th century is that all the things and the objects, and among them also the Sifrei Torah, that were important object of the community and of the synagogues, were kept by the big synagogues, were collected by the big synagogues that were around. And therefore, what we found, besides Roma, that as you can see, where was the community alone, without other community around, but all the other community collected objects, and for our issue, Sifrei Torah, Torah scroll from the other community. This happened especially for Modena, Ferrara, Mantova, Padua, Venezia, that right now also these communities are very, very small, but at the time they were already big community in comparison to the very small community that were in Italy at the end of the 19th century. And this phenomena brought a lot of Torah scroll collected to the big community. Big communities that they, at the beginning, collected the Torah scroll for their necessities and their uses, but right now, in the last decades, they also became small communities. To give you some examples, Livorno, that at the beginning of the 20th centuries was already count much more than 1,000 people, right now has something like 300 Jews. Modena was the same, and right now there are less of 100 people. In Ferrara, there were something like 800 people at the beginning, close to the 1,000 people, and right now they are living in Ferrara just 25, 30 Jews. Mantova, the same thing. In Padua, right now there are just 150 Jews instead of, in the beginning of the 20th centuries, more than 1,000 or close to 1,000 people. Venezia itself right now has 300 people and was, as you can imagine, one of the important community for very a lot, at least 3-4 centuries, and so on. And so happened something very, very strange, that in this community were kept something like a big Genizah of Sifrei Torah. For example, so Ancona was the same. Now I want to show you, this is one of the Aronot HaKodesh of one of the small communities on the medium community of the here in Italy. And besides what there is in the closet upstairs where are kept the Sifrei Torah in use, in the closet at the bottom below, I found a lot of Sifrei Torah, sometimes without their Meilim and their Mapot and something like this, kept there as to be storage there. Also, this is a picture that can give you the imagine of how many Sifrei Torah were kept in a singular community, collecting the other scrolls coming from small communities. And this was one of the reasons of this big collection of the Sifrei Torah. But there is another reason of the huge quantity of Sifrei Torah. And now I give you another source. And this is a source from the Sanhedrin 21b. Amar Rava, Afalpi sheinichu lo avotav le'adam Sefer Torah, mitzvah liktov mishelo, sheneimar ve'ata kikvu lachem et hashira azot. Okay, as you can see, Rava says with regard with the mitzvah of every Jew to write himself a Torah scroll, even if a person ancestors left him a Sefer Torah, it is an important precept of writing a own Sefer Torah, because it's a precept of writing the Sefer Torah by the source ve'ata kitvu lachem et hashira. And as you know, the derasha of this pasuk is not just the shira, the song, but write a Torah scroll that include a shira. And so and we know that it's a mitzvah for every Jew to write a Torah scroll, or at least to engage somebody for you with the shelichut of to write a Sefer Torah. And this is the second reason of because we find in the Jewish communities in Italy, but not also in Italy, in the same community, even where there are just few decades of people living there and joining the community, we can find 20, 30 Sifrei Torah kept there, because the reason was or collecting the Sifrei Torah from other small communities at the beginning of the 20th century, or because this is the result of the devotion of the Jews of this community in writing and giving to the scribes to write Sifrei Torah to eternate the memory of their ancestors. So now let's go inside the types of Sifrei Torah. As you can see by this picture, on the picture before, by the color of the skin, of the leather, of the parchment, you can see two different colors, the white one and the brown. And but as perhaps everybody of you know, or the majority of you know, there are two types of leather or parchment for writing Sefer Torah. We have the kelaf, the parchment itself, that usually has a white color, and the gevil. The gevil is a leather tanned and written on the surface. Instead, it means not on the flesh side, but on the hair side. And since it's tanned with the brown component, the leather has this color of brown. And usually we think that there are two different kind of tradition about it. If we see the tradition of the Sephardic communities, also the West, the Sephardic community in the north, the Mediterranean area, or Portugal and Sefarad, or Turkey, and so on, usually to write the Sefer Torah is used the leather, the gevil, and so they are brown. And in all the Ashkenazic area, and also French and German area, they used by the Middle Age the parchment, and as you perhaps noted, the Torah scroll there were in the big majority, almost all of them, written on parchment, and therefore they were and they are white. Now, what is happening here? That we have the irbuvia and a mix of Torah scroll written on gevil and written on kelaf. This is very interesting in order to understand and to know the history of the Jewish communities in Italy, where the three components of the communities, the Italian component, the Sephardic and Levantine component, and also the Ashkenazi component, lived together for centuries. And therefore, it's not so strange to find in the same community Torah scroll written on kelaf and written on gevil with total different tradition. And the result of this is that the collections of the Torah scroll in the Jewish communities is a really mixed of types that reveal us also in a very high form the mixed tradition that was alive during centuries there, also in small communities. Just to give you a glimpse about the shape of the letter that were used in Ity, this is the Sefer Torah written on kelaf. This is the Sefer Torah written on Gevil, and both are in the shape of the letters used in Italy. What we can see, but it's not totally correct, but this is the majority. The first feature that you can see is the opposite side of the middle regal of the shin. Perhaps you are used to see that the middle regal of the shin written in the right ways as a yud, but here you can see without doubt that the middle regal of the shin is in opposite way, is seeing to the right instead of to the left. This is one of the points that I wanted to show you. And the lamed that is not closed like in an Ashkenazic way, and other things like the het. In Italy, they used much more the het of Rashi instead of the het of Rabbeinu Tam. The het of Rashi is the het that we know very well. You can see at the first line, Imlo Hafasta Ba. The het of Rashi is this one. Instead of the het of Rabbeinu Tam, that are the two vav or one vav and one zayin or two zayin with the hatuteret on the roof. There's a little roof. Right today, both of the tradition, the Arizal, the three important traditions, the Sephardic one, the Bet Yosef tradition, and the Arizal tradition, all of them use the het of Rabbeinu Tam. It means the two zayin with the roof above them. In Italy, we continued to use the het of Rashi mainly. Also here, you can see another type of leather that is Gevil, and you can see also here the het of Rashi. And also, if you can see the shin, also here is another tradition, but it's very, very very clear that the middle arm of the shin is in an opposite side facing right. Okay, now this is the one of the afatzim. What is the galanat and what are the afatzim? The afatzim is an important ingredient for the matkonim, from the receipt of doing the yaw, the ink, and also for tanning the leather. For the kelaf, as you perhaps something of you know, the tanning of the parchment, the kelaf is made with this, how do you say, the lime, with the lime. And for tanning the Gevil, they used mainly substances that could tan the leather. And among them, the most important was the galanat, that is the afatzim. And so the afatzim were important as the main ingredient for the tanning the leather to become Gevil, and also to make the ink, because the three main important ingredients of the ink were, and also already they are today, the mei afatzim, that is the water boiled together with the afatzim, the galanat, the vetriolo, we say, that is gofrit nechoshet, that it means the, I don't know in English how do you call it, but is the solfato di rama, rain sulfate, I don't know in English this is the word, and
vitriol.
Vitriol, and yet we say vitriol, but sometimes the scientific word perhaps is different. And the gum Arabic gum, that also one of the important ingredients for the ink. We have a lot of matkonim receipts of Italian Jewish ink by or written sometimes on the side of or in the first pages of medieval and Renaissance of the Renaissance age manuscripts, and I make my best in order to preserve this matkonim, this receipt, and I already today try to make the ink by myself using these receipts that I found in the manuscript. Okay, also here you can see the peculiarities of ancient Sifrei Torah, the way of make the sewing among the parchments, among the skins, and you see also peculiarities not just in the sewing but also of the shape of the letters. As you know, there is a very ancient tradition of making a normal spiral letters, curved letter, and so on, that are explained very well in the Sefer Tagin. It's one of the ancient medieval and perhaps also before medieval age tradition of adding special shapes in a special places in the Bible, especially in the Torah scroll, of making the letters. For example, here you can find two spiral P, just to give you a very short glimpse about the shape of these special letters. Can be the issue of another total lessons, but now we have to run and to speak about other themes. I told you about communities with a different tradition, and sometimes this is an ancient Torah scroll placed in Italy, but made totally outside Italy. You can see by the shape of the letter. You can see by the head of Rabbeinu Tam instead of head of Rashi. It's not so ancient. You can see the strange tagim on the lamed. You can see by also, and this is common also in the medieval Sifrei Torah in Italy, of leaving the double space between the verses of the Torah. If you scroll down this short piece pages of the Torah, you can see by the Ber Adonai El Moshe Lemor, double space. שלח לך אנשים וידעו לתרס כנען אחד למטה אבותיו וישלחו כל נשיא בהם space. Okay, right now or today, no one of the Torah scroll preserve the double space between the verses. No scribe today, beside me, leave a double space when at the end of each verse. And this happened not just in this outside Torah scroll coming from the Central Europe, but collected and preserved in Italy, but also in the Torah scroll copied in Italy until the 16th and the 17th centuries. From this period, they abandoned the tradition of leaving the double space between the verses. Okay, there's something interesting that in order to keep the tradition of also using the parchment as was made for centuries in Italy, I make my best of tanning the leather by myself. As you know, in order to use the leather and the parchment to make Sefer Torah, Tefillin, and Mezuzot, we must be a Jew, tanning them, working on them, and if they are made by non-Jews, are unfitable for using for sacred purpose. And therefore I go to the industries making the leather, and I tan the leather by myself. And this is important, and not only for writing new manuscripts, but also to restore the ancient one, because to restore lacking parchments or tears in the parchment, I want to use as much as possible the same skin that was used in the original part of the manuscripts. And therefore, instead of buying parchment in the market, mainly in Israel, that usually they use the cow parchment, and in Italy we use the not calf but goat or sheep parchment. I needed to tan the parchment by myself, and also with the colors that fit much more as possible to the manuscript that I have to restore. Okay, that is a new Torah scroll written in Italy, and this is a picture showing you I was a happy moment of introducing a Torah scroll written in Italy, and was an important appointment some time ago. Now, by the way, I wanted to tell you that one of the important my occupation is not just to write new manuscripts, but also to restore ancient manuscripts. Here you have an image of the Biella scroll. What is the Biella scroll? Now I tell you an interesting story. Sometimes I am called by very small communities in order to tell them, also because they have to do it for insurance reasons, to evaluate and to determine the value and the situation and the conservation issues about their collection of Torah scroll, 1, 2, 10, much more. And I was called from a North community, the Vercelli community, and they had Torah scroll of their community, and also Torah scroll coming from a very small community where no Jews are living anymore, that were collected and preserved in the Vercelli community, where right now are living no more than 10 Jews. And among the Torah scroll, I found, and this was really impressioned me, one scroll that I suppose to be written in the 13th century, but this is not the main feature of this Torah scroll, because I come across of medieval Torah scroll, but the normality is that this Torah scroll contains some sheets originals from the medieval ages, but after, during the several centuries that passed until the contemporaneity, some of the sheets were replaced by other parchments made, I don't know, after 200 years, 300 years, or something like this. The speciality of this Torah scroll had two features that really impressed me. The first is that no one parchment original lacked to the Torah scroll. And the secondly was extraordinarily well preserved. All the letters well written with a very strong ink, with no tears on the edges, and so on, with its rollers, and was really impressing me. And I suggested them that could be really very ancient. And I wanted to do the carbon-14 analysis on it. And besides this, I suggested them that there was a way of restoring it for religious purposes, not just for to conserve it in a right way, but also for religious purposes, to use it. Of course, not for use every Shabbat or every holidays By the way, they don't open the synagogue all the Shabbat because they don't have minyan. But for important meetings or bar mitzvah or weddings or something like this, they agreed, and the restorer did, firstly, doing analysis of the ink in order to make a new ink in some places for filling the ink where was lack, and so on. And so I restored it, and meanwhile I received also the analysis of the carbon 14, and I was right, and the period of copying the Sefer Torah was between the end of the 12th centuries and the end of the 12th centuries and the beginning of the 13th century, and possibly was written the first 2 decades of 1200, and come out that this was, as is reputed, one of the most ancient, or perhaps the most ancient Torah scroll in the world, already in use, because there are pieces of Torah scroll that we know also before it, but are or pieces of Torah scroll, just part of the Torah scroll, or with parchment replaced, as I told, that is the normality, or no more in function. It means that is so concealed that was unfitted for the reading. There's exceptional thing about this scroll is that is already today in use, even if it contains a lot of features of the medieval scrolls that after the ruling of Rambam and after the ruling of the Shulchan Aruch, sometimes the laws of writing Sefer Torah today don't fit with the features that we find in this Torah scroll. Nevertheless, we had answers by the rabbis that are proud of using and reading, sometimes for a few times in years, reading this Sefer Torah. For example, see inside this Sefer Torah. As you can see, I had sometimes to add my ink that here on the left is well seen. After was the ink is not so bright, as you can see, because this was a picture made immediately after I finished to fix the Sefer Torah. But I put this picture not so much for my restoring intervent, but for the tears, for the sewing that you can see inside the parchment itself. It means that differently by the way that we are considering today the parchment, they used the parchment for writing it, even if there were holes, and they sewed the holes before writing, and already we can see the holes of the sewing inside the parchment. Something that is very strange and probably is not more used from the end of the Middle Age. And for example, here on the right side, you can see an interesting thing about the paragraphs of the Torah scroll. As you can see by the first line that you see on the right, there is a correction, an interesting correction about the paragraph that at the beginning, Unsachea, the second line, was written on the left side of Minchata. On the left side of Minchata was written Unsachea, and after, to make it unfitable and in according to the laws of Rambam, that at this age didn't arrive in Italy yet. We are at the beginning of the 13th century. They wrote Unsachea on the same line, and after they fixed it and put Unsachea at the line, at the bottom line. And this is the same thing with Uvayom HaShevi. It's very clear that Uvayom was on the right side of HaShevi originally. And after they put Uvayom upstairs. And if you look carefully, you can see that Uvayom is written with another shape of letter, because was not written originally, was written by another scribe after some centuries, because was retained this scroll unfitable for the reading until they fixed the paragraph. And this is something very interesting to show you, because this is a testimony of a way of writing the Torah scroll before accepting the rules. Or as another feature, you can see Kemisparam, Kemishpatam. They added tagim in the middle of the image. They added tagim on the tet of Kemishpatam. But this is something that was very common during the Middle Age and in Italy until the 16th and 17th centuries of writing the Sifrei Torah according to the Sefer Tagim, or the different traditions, Sefer Tagim, Beta Bekira. There were a lot of Kiryat Sefer, of the Meiri, and so on, you know. Okay. This is lacking. Okay. Now my job, I saw myself very young here, perhaps past at least 15 years. Sometimes I have the responsibility of keeping fitable, important manuscripts around Italy. This is a very important and famous Megillat Esther of the Jewish community of Padua, that they have by centuries, and they use them. And they wanted me restoring and filling some lacking letters on the concealed letters, and was a very big responsibility of sending my hand in such a treasure, in such a beautiful, one of the most beautiful Megillot Esther in the world. There are we know about 5 or 6 copies of this Megillah written in the middle of the 18th centuries in Italy, and just one of them is preserved here conserved in Italy. All the other one are in Budapest, in America, in other places in Europe, and of course in private collections. And this is one of the tasks that I have, and I fulfill with proud. Oh, sometimes I want also to my task is also to write new one manuscripts, and this one of the most beautiful that I wrote. I did also the design of the decoration, and this is the Holy Ark of the main synagogue in Roma, and downstairs there are the chains of the Megillat Esther, as you perhaps know about other items like this one. And the interesting thing is that the description of the chains downstairs at the bottom is in Hebrew letter, but in Italian language. That you can read in Hebrew letter sentences in Italian describing the chain down at the bottom beneath the column. And I am proud that in the main synagogue they use my Megillah, and it's a very special and proudly thing. Sometimes the needs is also is very spread and comes also in connection with the donations and other things that authorities want to make to other authorities. In this case is the chief rabbi Riccardo Di Segni, made to the Pope Paul John Paul II, and of course also Megillot Ketubot. I asked to write Megillot, and this is another beautiful part of the job that I make. Oh, this is one also interesting thing. This is a Passover Haggadah with Roman Jewish explanation, and also this is the same thing that I told you before, that the explanation, like in the Megillah, the description of the Shen, as you know, in the Haggadah there are several explanations for the Arba Kosot, and all the explanation of the Haggadah are made in Hebrew letters, but in Judaico-Romanesco, Roman Jewish explanation. It means that it's not, it's like an Yiddish used by the Roman Jews that I included in this edition of the Haggadah. I think that this is another, sometimes a revival tradition go outside the country. I was asked by the Greek members of the Jewish communities to make for them the Aleph. Perhaps some of you knows what is the Aleph. The Aleph is the blessing that is made in honor of a new child, and it also is something very abandoned tradition by the first decades of the 20th centuries, and I was asked to make for them an Aleph, and to left white the place of adding the name of the child. And as you can see on the right, there is a frame around, and in a certain point there is not writing, there is the yellow without writing, and this is because this is the place where they can add the name of the new child the day of the Berit, of the Milah, and they printed it, and now is made in several copies, and as I know, and I hope they are using for their children as a gift when they have new birth. But I finished my ASC from interruption condivisione, and some suggestion to you, just to show you that there is a revival of scribal tradition here in Italy. I try to teach to other people, also, even if it's very difficult, because the people don't want so much to make this job. It's a very hard job to be alone in a room, to write without speaking with somebody, and to say the truth, also right now I don't have so much time to dedicate my time to this occupation. But for 35 years, since I was 16, 17, I began as a joke, as a hobby, and for 35 years was my occupation, in parallel with other jobs. But that's it. I wanted strongly to to bring newly this tradition among the Italian Jews. That's it. This was the meaning of my job in these years.
Thank you very much, Amadeo, for a fantastic and fascinating presentation. At this time, we'll open up the floor for some questions, and people can feel free to ask in Italian or Hebrew as they prefer, or English. Do we have any questions?
Oh, I see that there is also Shalom. Shalom.
Yes. Okay. Until we have some questions, in the chats we had a question at the Biel Sefer Torah.
Biela.
Biela. Yes, it looked like in the photo that someone was touching the Sefer Torah with their finger. Is that permitted, or was that the case?
To touch it with the finger. So somebody want to know if is
in the photo, in your photo, it looks like the reader is touching.
It's touching. I don't know if perhaps I perhaps indicated the verses without touching. I don't know if it was touching the Torah scroll itself. Perhaps was not a good thing that he did, but usually we don't touch with the fingers the Torah scroll. This religious perceive, and also is a good behave towards the Torah scroll. So we use the manina, we say is the yad, as you know, but perhaps was not a particular. They were not so careful at the moment.
Okay. I see Professor Sabar had some comments. So you care to voice them directly?
Yes, not really comments, but just to tell you that I know Amadeo for at least 25 years now, and have been following his recreation of Italian Jewish art, the wonderful ketubot that he's doing, Esther scrolls, and really is the one who is reviving the glory of Italian art of the past, of Italian Jewish art, and I'm really so happy about what he's doing and so proud. And every time I show and lecture on old materials from Italy, whether Esther scrolls or ketubot, and they show something by Amadeo, everyone is amazed. I mean, to see how well he's doing it and how well he continues the tradition, not only the pictorial, but also the scribal, as you could see. He's the one who knows, I think, more than anyone else on Torah scrolls of the medieval period in Italy. And thanks to his knowledge, he discovered this Biela Torah scroll, which is maybe the most important Torah scroll that we have today. So it's only because of his dedication and love to this field, and which I share with him very much, that we are very, really honored that he spoke to us and showed us what he's doing. I mean, I would have wished that he would show more. I have a whole file at home of items that he did already in the last 20 years or so, but I think he should speak about them. Maybe you invite him again to just analyze and show you where he draws his ideas from and so on. So תודה רבה, עמדאו.
תודה רבה לך שאמרת דברים, חצי מהמילים הם לא ריאליים, זה לא אמת, אבל מכל מקום אני מקבל בשמחה.
Well, we're hoping that Amadeo will submit an article to Ars Judaica, comparing his modern creations with inspiration from the traditional scrolls, and we invite him to submit warmly and explore it more deeply. Yes, Ilya.
Yes, I just joined your invitation. So, Amadeo, you are welcome to write down this and to submit this as an article. I think it will be great.
Besimcha. Okay.
Fantastic. Do we have any other questions? in the audience? Please raise your hand or feel free to speak up. Or comments? Anyone?
I just was thinking about the number of the Sefer Torah that you showed in the community there, in the small community that they had a lot
there
of
is,
Sefer Torah.
there is one community where I found close to 100 Sefer Torah, just in one
Yes,
community
wow.
where are living less than 200 people. It means that there are, in average, one Sefer Torah for each person of the community, more or less.
Because I was thinking that in Yemen, I think they had also every family had
of course.
Sefer Torah.
And also because sometimes they conserved the Torah scroll in the houses. They had private oratory, Batei Knesset, small Batei Knesset in their proper home, and they used their Torah scroll. And during the second half of the 18th centuries and during the 19th centuries, there is this phenomena of giving the Sifrei Torah that were kept in the houses in the main Beta Knesset, the main shul, and also because they felt them not able anymore to keep them, also because the emancipation, also because the secularization of the families, and therefore several of these scrolls that originally were kept in the private houses found their place in the Batei Knesset of the community. Is the third reason, because of growing the number of the Sifrei Torah in communities, in small communities.
Amadeo, were all of these scrolls Sifrei Torah, or were there also Sifrei Haftarot or other scrolls?
No, we don't have the tradition of writing Sifrei Haftarot, just Sifrei Torah, and of course Megillot Esther. But the phenomena is very, very interesting because aside of libraries and collection of manuscripts that sometimes were thieved in the communities, or found were spread out from the communities during the Second World War or after the Second World War, also because of lacking people, responsible people in the communities. It's very, very interesting that the collection of the Sifrei Torah are already there. Nobody thieved them, robbed them, and because also among the scholars, the Sifrei Torah were considered for a long time something that was not so interesting, because are written all the same. The ages was very hardly to say when were written. There are no colophones. You don't come out with important informations. No way of make researches on them, and this is the facing of the scholars. And about the thieves and the robbers in the community, we found that they didn't face to these collections, and they remain there, perhaps because also the authorities, the leaders of the community were not ready to sell them to other people, because there is a sanctities around this Torah scroll, and therefore in the communities where are lacking all the libraries, and we know by the seals that originally belonged to one singular community, and there are any more in the place, the Torah scroll already are placed there in the Jewish community. And this is a very particular phenomena.
Interesting. Dana, did you have a question?
And actually, it's first of all, I want to say, Amadeo, thank you very much. Un piacere. And I have, regarding the question before that Sharon was asking about each house has his own Torah scroll. And I wonder, I'm doing my research, my PhD on synagogues in Morocco, and I found out that there are lots of houses and that purposing a room in the house for a little synagogue of their own. And I wonder if, like, maybe this is the reason all of them had kind of each family as they are trying to keep their religion and praying at home. So this is the reason of having the Torah scroll for each family.
Yes, it's something that I think that is a shared tradition. Is exactly the same in Italy. We know very well by documents, by attestations of families who, rich families, of course, that had little rooms of prayers in their home, and they joined with minyan, of course, with minyan, with their own minyan, and they joined the public services just a few times in the year. Usually they had their own minyan, sometimes with the servants, using servants, Jewish servants, of course, and members of the families, enlarged family, but they didn't were in touch daily with the other members of the community. This we know very well.
Thank you.
Yes, Tzvi did some research also on these small home synagogues.
Yes, in Germany and thus other regions. Yes.
I see we
let me to tell, להגיד שלום לדוד, שאני רואה שהוא מחובר. דוד, שלום וברכה, אני כל כך שמח לראות אותך פה בינינו. זה באמת עושה לי גאה הרבה מאוד. לא ציפיתי לדבר כזה חשוב.
אני מאוד שמח לראות אותך ולשמוע אותך.
תודה רבה. שמעת ממני הרבה פעמים, תמיד אותה פרשה.
I should just mention that in some communities, Dana, like the Bukharan Jews, private synagogues were more popular than the public synagogues. Every wealthy family in Bukhara in the past had their own synagogue in the living room, and they would gather all the members of the family and not go to public synagogue. That's something, a conception that we don't know so much, but there in that country, it was the prevalent one. So we have this phenomenon in many other regions, especially in small communities.
Well, Moroccan community was not that small, but it's amazing to see how many private synagogues at homes. And it's also due to the fact that there was the law that forbidden them to build new synagogues. So
could be,
yeah, they couldn't, and so they found other solutions by the rule of the Islam.
Yeah, the synagogues in Rome were all in one building in the past, so for the same reason.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
It's amazing to see like unity of great professors here in this Zoom. Wonderful.
Zachinu.
Mamash. Seriously, Zachinu.
בזכות Amadeo.